So today's topic is G.I. Joe Night Force. Night Force is one of those subcategories of the G.I. Joe teams where they were trying to recolorize the products that they already had out there for the toy series. And it was a nice break from the neons that you had color-wise in the 90s. So this team was like the Demolitions nighttime operative forces, and they were all done in like darker colors. Well, which, like I said, was a nice break from the neons of the 90s when they started going in that direction. So here you see some of the modern miniatures. These are, I believe, out of print, but they were modern interpretations of G.I. Joe characters. So you have Crazy Legs, Falcon, and Spirit and Freedom there. And since they were modern interpretations, I decided I was going to paint them not in the 1980s color styles that those figures were in, but in the Night Force color series that the figures were repackaged in later on, and make them like a modern covert ops team. So these teams could be used against all kinds of different characters. I always envisioned like maybe more like the special missions forces, the issues of the Marvel comics where they dealt with like real life kind of not necessarily Cobra or fantastical villains or op fours, but these were like more realistic, like tin pot dictators and such. So here I have them pictured in like Trucial Abysmal, which is one of the countries that was a fictional country in the Marvel series of G.I. Joe comics. That was a oil-rich country that was also in cahoots with Cobra. So Cobra was supplying military aid as they were providing Cobra with resources and oil. So here you see Tunnel Rat and Beachhead. These are two more figures also done in characters, also done in that range. Again, these are 28mm metal miniatures. They were originally produced by SASM Miniatures, but like I said, I think they're out of print now. There you see Outback, there you see Duke, both with their modern rifles and modern gear. So very much looking the part. Again, the emphasis being infiltration. So you're seeing darker colors used. And if you look at the action figures for Night Force, I don't know if they made a Duke one, but I know they made an Outback one, and I followed those color guides when I was painting them here. There's a back shot of Snake Eyes and Wetsuit. Great looking models. This one has Snake Eyes with both of his swords drawn. I have another one by the same manufacturer where it's Snake Eyes with a rifle drawn. There you can see the entire team, all the characters in there. So you have a good 8-man force to go in and wreak some havoc, do some demolitions, or take out a high-value target. Espionage, recon. People ask, well, how can I use these models? How can I put them into use? There's a lot of manufacturers out there I still see that have STLs of the traditional Cobra forces, but you can also use them. I would use them and have used them against 28mm moderns that exist out there already. These would be perfect, in my opinion, against cartels. You know, if it's a cartel action, that's a perfect counteraction for G.I. Joe to do. Go down and attack like a cartel facility, or maybe, you know, a weapons plant. Here I have my Syrians standing in for Trucial Abysmal. So these would be like the local forces. And I used the Mongrel Miniatures 1980s Syrians that they had. So here you have guys with AKs, guys with the SVD sniper rifles. There's a LMG on the back of an Unimog, which the Unimog, I believe, is by Company B Miniatures. It was a all-metal kit. Nice piece of kit. Not sure if that's still out there anymore either. The Syrians are still available from Badger Games, sorry. And I have a complete set of those, I want to say like a platoon and a half's worth or something for skirmish gaming for stuff like this, as well as doing like more traditional historical games where they would be fighting the Israelis in Operation Peace for Galilee. So what to do with these guys again? So I drafted up a quick, just almost like adventure seed kind of thing, where it's a quick scenario that's available for you to download. I'll figure out where it's going yet, but here's a map of it too. But it's basically an objective and a scenario, and it's all based off like a D10 kind of roll, a D10 system. So when you see the pluses and minuses or whatever modifier, that's the thought process. You can apply to whatever rule set you're looking at to use for moderns. But this would be like something to get you going, basically. You know, for a 28mm game, a 4x8 table, and looking at a D10 style system, but you can adopt it to whatever. All right, have fun.